Dr. Priyanka from Department of Physiology, Sree Balaji Medical College and Hospital. I have an experience of 18 years teaching BDS, MBBS, PPT, BOT and other streams of medical students. I've almost published 19 plus publications, international and national indexed journals. And I have 3 chapters has been published and 4 ongoing projects in my hand. I've completed 1 ICMR STS projects. And I've got a patent in my hand with the ISAK level 1 course completed. So shall we start with the class? So today's class is on coronary circulation. The learning objectives are, let us learn about the different arteries and veins supplying your coronary system. What is the special peculiar features of your coronary blood flow? How do you measure the coronary blood flow? How is the coronary blood flow regulated? What are the factors affecting the coronary blood flow and some applied aspects related to that? The coronary arteries. So what is the coronary circulation? It is nothing but the oxygenated blood supplied to the heart through the coronary arteries, and the venous drainage that is taking place into the cardiac sinuses is called as coronary circulation. Normal value is equal to 250 ml per minute. So if you go for 100 grams, it is 70 to 80 ml per minute, which is very high when compared to any other organ. So from the branch of the aorta, you have the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery supplying your heart. The right coronary artery supplies your right atrium, right ventricle, posterior aspect of your left ventricle, interventricular septum and conducting system of the heart except your bundle branch. Your left coronary artery supplies your left atrium, left ventricle, especially the anterior aspects of your left ventricle and the interventricular septum and the left bundle branch. The venous drainage happens into the coronary sinuses, anterior coronary sinuses and into the Thembesian veins. So the major part of the venous drainage happens into the coronary sinus actually, 75% happens there. Why should you learn about coronary circulation? Why is it important? It is the functional blood supply of the heart. The heart is the organ that is supplying blood to every part of your body. So coronary circulation itself is the blood supply that is to the heart. So you should know how is it happening. The blood flowing through the heart chambers does not nourish. So whatever the blood flow present, the blood present inside the chamber, the chamber is not getting perfused at all. So that is only for ejection to the different organs actually. Like the systemic circulation, pulmonary circulation, coronary circulation is also made up of arteries, veins, capillaries, veins and venules. So at a resting state, the coronary blood flow is equal to 225 ml per minute. It is almost equal to 4 to 5% of the total cardiac output. During exercise, the demand increases to 4 to 7 times also. Special features of coronary circulation is the important 5 marks question. You should not miss to study this. Special features of coronary circulation. So like any other organ, the heart also has special features in its circulation. Now first important thing is that every organ receives blood during the systole of the heart, whereas the heart itself receives blood only during the diastole, because only during the diastole the heart is in a relaxed state and therefore the blood vessels also is in a relaxed state and therefore the heart receives its own blood flow. The myocardium depends upon largely in the aerobic metabolism. Heart is the only organ that generates its own perfusion pressure. Coronary arteries are end arteries and they do not show any anastomosis. That is actually a drawback for the coronary system, because if there is anastomosis we may be saved from MI, because they are end arteries. That portion, if it is getting blocked or affected, that portion of the heart does not receive blood flow and it may lead to ischemia and necrosis and therefore leads to myocardial infarction. So that is why there is an important and a special feature that you have to note here is that coronary arteries are end arteries and do not show proper anastomosis. The resting AV difference of oxygen content is very high. It is almost equal to 12 ml per 10 ml actually. So the myocardial utilization is 70% while other organs is only 25%. The metabolic factors, it is totally depending upon the metabolic factors. Whenever the oxygen goes low, the coronary blood flow gets auto-regulated and manages its own blood flow. The capillary density is very high, is almost equal to 1:1. The measurement of the coronary blood flow, you have direct method and indirect method. Direct method using your electromagnetic flow meters, indirect method using your Dopplers and using your radionuclides. And indirect method also involves the Ketty's method. Ketty's method acts by means of fixed principle. So you actually ask the subject to take a mixture of gases comprising of nitric oxide, nitrogen and oxygen. So you take this, and after taking this, every 10 minutes you keep measuring the uh, gaseous concentration that is present in that, in your coronary blood flow, and you measure it using the fixed principle formula. It is nothing but the amount of nitric oxide taken up per minute divided by the AV difference of the nitrogen content, that is equal to 0.8 into 100 ml, that is equal to 80 ml. So during the different phases of your cardiac cycle, the coronary blood flow actually varies. So the blood flow in the coronary arteries is not constant. It is reduced during systole, increased during diastole. That is because of the intramural vessel pressure that is supplying the that is actually affecting your myocardium. So what happens is that the intramural vessels, or the final artery supplying the myocardium, stands perpendicular to the cardiac muscle. So whenever the heart is in systole, the intramural vessels gets compressed and the blood flow is decreased. So during diastole, the compression is released and therefore the blood vessels are dilated and distended, the blood flow starts to increase. So during your systole, that is especially during isovolumetric contraction, the blood flow declines sharply due to increase in the myocardial tissue perfusion and a decrease in the aortic pressure. During ejection phase, the blood flow through the coronary arteries is less due to the high intramural myocardial pressure in the contracting ventricles. Throughout the systole, what happens due to the high intramural myocardial pressure, the contracting ventricles, the subendocardium of the left ventricle, does not receive any blood because of this throttling effect. So this is called as throttling effect. So throughout the systole, what happens is that the heart stays in a contracted state. During diastole, the maximum blood flow starts to take place, and thus because of the relaxed state of the heart. What are the factors affecting your coronary blood flow? Autoregulation. Autoregulation is the ability of an organ to auto-regulate its own blood flow, whatever fluctuations there is going to be happening in the BP. So the auto-regulated set point for the heart is actually 60 to 150 mmHg. So whatever the BP is going to fluctuate between 60 to 150 mmHg, the coronary blood flow is not going to get affected. It can be managed between 225 ml for the heart. So how is it actually managed, and what are the factors actually affects the coronary blood flow is that is the need for the oxygen, it is the metabolic factors that is affecting, and then you have the coronary perfusion pressure, and lastly the nerve factors. So the metabolic factors involves the vasodilation during the hypoxic conditions. So during reactive hyperemia, what is reactive hyperemia? Is a condition where increased blood flow due to vasodilator effects of the metabolites. Metabolic products, they actually involve in the increase in the coronary blood flow. Example, during hypoxia, what happens is that the muscle starts to, when the myocardium starts to contract, and when in the working state there is accumulation of lactic acid, this lactic acid will inhibit the calcium binding of the myocardium and the myocardial contractility gets affected. So this leads to release of ATP to get converted to ADP. This ADP is a potent vasodilator which will wash off all this lactic acid. So this whole thing is called as Burns effect. So adenosine is a potent vasodilator. It washes off the metabolites and increases the blood flow to the myocardium. Other metabolites examples are potassium, hydrogen, carbon dioxide and adenosine phosphate compounds. Coronary perfusion pressure, it is mainly dependent upon your mean arterial pressure because that is a major factor affecting your coronary blood flow. Other nervous factors, what are the nervous factors that is involved here is your sympathetic and the parasympathetic. In concern to your heart, it is always a sympathetic that is going to be friendly for your coronary blood flow. The parasympathetic actually reduces the cardiac functions, and therefore there is production of metabolites and coronary blood flow actually decreases when parasympathetic stimulation is getting when it is getting triggered. Coronary occlusion, coming to the applied aspects, coronary occlusion happens in various cases. One such cases is that there is two terms, atherosclerosis and arteriosclerosis. Arteriosclerosis is thickening of the walls of the artery. As you become older, the elasticity of the artery goes off, and therefore what happens, the artery walls becomes thickened, and therefore they do not stretch well, so therefore the lumen gets affected, number one. And when you have the accumulation or the deposition of the fats on the walls of the blood vessels, That is again going to interrupt with the lumen, the diameter of the blood flow, diameter of the blood vessel, uh, creating a disturbance for the blood flow to go into the lumen of the blood vessels. And sometimes there is clot formation also. These clots, what will happen, a clot is called as a thrombus, and when the thrombus disperses into particles and they starts to move in the circulation, it is called as emboli. Emboli is actually more dangerous compared to a thrombus. These emboli, they will go block the minute blood vessels supplying your coronary arteries, coronary muscle. So what happens is that when they go block the coronary end arteries, that portion where the blood vessel is supplying that myocardium is getting affected, will lead to lack of oxygen, leading to ischemia, and therefore what happens, hypoxic condition takes place and it will lead to tissue death. So the tissue that is happening in the myocardium, you call it as, you don't call it as necrosis here you call it as myocardial infarction. So the myocardial infarction due to myocardial ischemia will lead to the necrosis of the myocardium. So what happens is that the hypoxia develops when the blood flow of the part of the myocardium decreases severely due to the occlusion of the coronary arteries, and sometimes the blood flow is actually rapidly restored by means of coronary collaterals also, if a small quantum of the myocardium is affected. But if there is going to be a major portion, then you have to go for surgical treatment only. So when a major portion of the myocardium is not supplied by blood, and if there's going to be insufficiency of the blood, it can be due to thrombus, it can be due to emboli, it can be due to accumulation of fat, whatever cases, it will lead to a condition called as angina pectoris. At a common term, it is called as heart attack. So the heart attack usually experienced on the chest, left chest, which is going to radiate towards the left shoulder and even to the tip of the fingers. So the common symptoms of myocardial infarction is the cardiac pain, nausea, vomiting, palpitations, dyspnea, difficulty in breathing, extreme weakness, sweating, and anxiety. How do you treat angina pectoris? Immediately you treat with vasodilator drugs which can wash out the end products. So one such is your nitrites, that is your glyceryl nitrites, sodium nitrates, which can relieve the pain by dilating the coronary arteries. You can use, you can recommend calcium channel blockers, which will reduce the workload of the heart, and sympathetic blockers can also be used, which will actually inhibit the cardiac activity by blocking the beta adrenergic receptors. Surgically, we're going to opt for CABG or PTCA. What is CABG is that it is nothing but it is a coronary artery bypass graft. What we do here is that when a part of the myocardium is affected, when the occlusion is detected by angiography, immediately we graft that vessel and then we form an anastomosis between the aorta and the coronary arteries. So where the blood supply can be restored wherever it was blocked. The other technique is PTC, it is percutaneous transluminal coronary angioplasty, and even laser techniques are also been invented. So final recap of the whole class, it is the coronary circulation. It is supplied by two blood vessels, the aorta and your veins. So the aorta branches into the right coronary artery and the left coronary artery. The right coronary artery divides into the posterior descending artery. The left coronary artery descends into your anterior descending and the circumflex artery. And the veins drains into the coronary sinuses, especially your anterior coronary sinus and the Thebesian veins for your right atrium and the right ventricle. So we have three factors that is affecting your regulation of the coronary blood flow. One is the physical, the other one is the neural, the last one is the metabolic factors. The physical factors is the pressure changes happening in the aorta, which is going to result in parallel changes in your coronary blood flow. Whenever there is extravascular compression taking place, what happens is that the blood supply to the coronary arteries actually reduces. So only during diastole there is normal blood flow restored to the coronary arteries. During systole what happens, the blood flow is completely stopped. Viscosity of course is inversely proportional to your coronary blood flow, and whenever there is increased activity of the heart, it is going to decrease the coronary vascular resistance, thus leading to vasodilation. Neural factors concerned, it is about the sympathetic and the parasympathetic. Sympathetic actually increases the coronary blood flow, parasympathetic reduces. Metabolic factors, major contribution is your adenosine, nitric oxide and your carbon dioxide. So these actually increases the coronary blood flow. Even the prostaglandins also try to increase the coronary blood flow because of the increased metabolic activity. there is decrease in the oxygen supply, therefore the vasodilators increase the coronary blood flow. Thus, we come to the end of the class. I'll see you in the next class. Thank you.